Running backs still matter. They always have and they always will. But it's all about the value that you put on the position. We have tier one, tier two, and tier three running backs as we rank them next on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find me on Twitter at DP_NFL. I'm a national scout over with the Draft Network and your favorite and local running back gurus. And I got the champ with me, as always, my boy, Keith Sanchez. You can find him on Twitter at TheTalentCode. Keith, talk to him, baby.
That's Locked On family. Let's get locked in, baby. What's up? This is Keith Sanchez, senior draft analyst with the Draft Network, man, in 2019 national champ. But you know why I'm here, man. You know why the dynamic duo is here, and that's to bring you championship level content surrounding the NFL draft, whether that's prospects, whether that's philosophies, whether that's roster management, man, and DP. Man, what we say, man, you say you're the running back guru, man. We tell the people that every day, but guess what, man? We're talking running backs. Yes, we're going to go through the running back rankings. Everyone talks about how this is a deep running back class, right? And the Kansas City Chiefs, they were able to go to the Super Bowl with Isaiah Pacheco, who's a 7th-round draft pick from University of Rutgers. So you know what? You're going to want to stay tapped in this entire show because every running back matters, man. Every running back matters. So let's get this thing started off, man, with running backs 1 through 5.
Keith, just like we did with the quarterbacks, it's the same type of formula, man. I'm going to list off my 1 through 5. You list off yours, and I'm going to get it started with, of course, the creme de la creme, the guy at the very top, Bijan Robinson, running back out of Texas. Out of Alabama, Jahmyr Gibbs. Out of UCLA at number 3, Zach Charbonnet. Out of Tulane, number 4 is Tyjae Spears. And number 5 is Auburn's Tank Bigsby for me.
Okay, that was that. We have quite a hiccup, man, and we have something we got to talk about, right? Because our 1 and 2s, and I think that's universal, right? You're going to find Bijan and Jahmyr. But at number 3, I have Tank, and you have Zach Charbonnet, right? So I want to talk about that because I kind of leaned in more to Tank. And then I'm going to be honest, man, there was some things about Zach Charbonnet that when I really got into his athletic ability, that kind of made me shy away from him a little bit. And honestly, I wouldn't even say a little bit. Like he's down my draft. So we have a big disagreement, when it comes into Zach Charbonnet, man.
Now, Zach Charbonnet, just a physical downhill, NFL style back, right? Like a gap scheme, a guy that can carry the load and be that heavy load. You look at like the Derrick Henrys, and we see a lot of backs that, while they didn't offer a ton, the Nick Chubbs, right? Like those guys who, throw 70 passes to him, 70, 80 passes to him, but they can carry your offense in terms of the run game. I look at Zach Charbonnet. He's got that type of physicality, that build, that downhill ability. I like his vision and his patience for the most part, with the pulling game, pinning and pulling and having 2 guys leading the way. He's willing to slow down and tempo his speed to allow those guys to do their job and get in front of him. I think his vision is good. Like I said, I think he's patient as well. A guy that they run a little bit of zones. They do run some zone stuff at UCLA. Is he the best zone type of back? Not necessarily. If he is, he's got to be one cut. You press that outside and plant that foot and get upfield, similar to Derrick Henry. But I just love the physicality and the power he runs with. Keith. Hard to tackle, man. This guy has some highlight runs where he's just bowling over guys. Like they run through defenders like they're bowling pins, and he's trying to get a 9-1 split or whatever you call that stuff in bowling. I just know I hit strikes. That's all that matters. But you know what I'm saying? So I love that. Yeah, listen, man, I'm a strike, baby. You know what I'm saying? So we gonna have to take a trip and get to the bowling alley one night, maybe while we in KC. But no, I like Zach Charbonnet, man. He can catch the football, Keith. He was not like a big proponent or a big, addition to their passing game, but he catches the ball well. He's not going to be like Gibbs and Bijan that runs routes out of the backfield, though.
Yeah, I don't want to say what makes me nervous about Zach Charbonnet, but the athletic ability, right? Because I know you named us some names, right? Like Derrick
Hmm.
Henry and Nick Chubb, and I'm assume that you don't think that he's those guys, right? Like you don't
No,
think
no.
he's that. I think stylistically is just he's a power back, but it's how far does the down the pecking order does he go as far as being a power back, right? Like is this a guy that you can even comp to? Throwback names, right? Like Marion Barber, or is he like a modern day, or is he David Montgomery? Like I just the dynamic ability, I just didn't see that part to where, to be honest, I don't even know if I think he's David Montgomery, right? Like I may think that he's a step under that, like, and so we seen opportunities for success. You've seen big guys like AJ Dillon and stuff like that. I just thought that he was a serviceable guy. I think I finished with a late 3, early 4 grade on him, right? I
Hmm.
just didn't have him in my top 5 backs because I thought there were more backs that were more dynamic than him. And one of my guys was Tank Bigsby, right? I think Tank runs with that same type of power. They're not the same size, but they run with that same type of physicality. But I think Tank can kind of get out the gate too, right? Like this is
Yeah,
a guy that
100%.
can actually run. So I had him um, in front of Zach Charbonnet. So just make sure we had Bijan and I had Jameer, right? And then I
Yep.
went Tank, you and Zach. We both had Tajay Spears at 4. And then I took one of your guys, DP. I took one of your guys. It's just, I think he's more of a complete back than what people give him credit for, Kenny McIntosh. I slid him into that 5th slot. And listen, this is another guy who athletic ability is not all the way there, but unlike, I don't want to say unlike that sounds, but we're being direct. Right? Unlike Zach Charbonnet, this is a guy that's been proven in the passing game. So I think of, like you said, right, one of your comps is Arizona State's Rashad White. That's a serviceable back. That's a back that can be complimentary in a very positive way. That's a back that the Dallas Cowboys might want to circle because they could probably go really well with a guy like Tony Pollard in the
Hmm.
backfield. So DP, I want who was your 5th guy?
My fifth guy was Tank. Tank was fifth on my list, and it was just a small margin in terms of like what separated him, Spears, and Charbonnet. I think with Tank, the one thing I want to see Tank do is get a little stronger or filled in the lower half. I see guys be able to cut him down with shoestring tackles and grabbing at the ankles and just attacking his base a little too easy for him. Because two guys have tried to hit him up high, it just doesn't work when you hit him up high. You know what I mean? Like you talked about, that physicality is real. That power that he runs with is real, and he did it. In the SEC, and I think he's a guy that's similar to Charbonnet. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. Just Auburn's offense didn't throw it to him enough. So I think he
Auburn
has
offense was all over the place. Like the
bro.
past 3 years, like the quarterbacks didn't match the head coach. They changed head coaches. Now the scheme doesn't match the quarterbacks. The play, like it was the wide receivers didn't
They don't know
necessarily.
who QB1 is, even going into spring game right now. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of uncertainty, and it's just like you see it. You know what I mean? And it's like with him, I feel like if he was with a better, even in the SEC, if he was a better offense, like if you put him at Arkansas with KJ Jefferson rather than Raheem Rocket Sanders, I think Tank has 1,300 yards rushing. You know what I mean? One of those type of big, seasons where he tests well, he looks good, he looks the part, and then get him involved in the passing. And I love Tank, so like he was definitely, he was nowhere. There was no chance he wasn't being in my top 5.
Yeah, I think the with Tim Leaf he ran a 4.4 too, right? So you're talking about a high
Mm-hmm.
caliber athlete, and he's one of those guys, man, that to where in this class you really can make the argument that there's running backs throughout, like there's starters throughout, right? Like if you tell me, and we didn't do this or that, right? But if you talk about Bijan top 10, or you talk about Tank in the third, right? Like you like, I might go with Tank in the third just because
Right.
you see all the physical tools. And not saying that Bijan isn't a special back, but you see all the physical tools that Tank has, and then you watch the Auburn film and you see how messy it is. But DP, man, listen, that rounds out tier 1. We had a little bit of discrepancy. I threw your guy Kenny McIntosh in there.
I
You
love
you
it.
left him on the outside looking in, DP. But listen, we're about to get in 6 through 10, and I have a feeling that we're going to have appearance from Kenny McIntosh in DP's 6 through 10 list coming up.
Guys, something exciting is coming to BuiltBar.com on April 22nd. I don't have all the details yet, but the excitement is real. It's something you don't want to miss. If you know how Built Bar works, they have the most incredible protein bars in the world. They do these amazing flavor drops with unreal flavors and limited quantity. So mark your calendars and head to BuiltBar.com on Saturday, April the 22nd to be one of the first to discover what all the hype is about. I can't wait to see what this new flavor is. Make sure to use our promo code LOCKEDON15 and you'll get 15% off your next order. RB 6 through 10, Keith. And I'm going to tell you right now, you kind of threw it out there and I'm going to confirm. Yes, Kenny McIntosh is in this next crop of guys, man. And it's one of your boys too, Keith. And there's some talk about him off the field and maturity-wise, but talent-wise, this is one of the better backs in this class. So at number 6 is Zach Evans from Ole Miss. Right behind him is Kenny McIntosh, from Georgia. I have Devin Achane from Texas A&M. I have at the Achane, I have Israel Abanikanda from Pittsburgh, and then I have Roschon Johnson from Texas. Keith.
Okay, we have a little bit of a mix-up right here because I went Israel Abanikanda at 6, man. I went Israel Abanikanda, and then I have another curveball. I threw Eric Gray in there. I threw Eric Gray at my 7th slot. Then I went Zach Evans, then appearance from your guy, Zach Charbonnet, and then I'm rounded that thing out with Roschon Johnson, man. So I think there were so many talking points within that, right? Like Israel Abanikanda, I'll explain myself, man. When I watch this guy, does he have the lateral cuts that I love to see from running backs? No, he's more of a runway type of guy, but I love how he finishes runs. He's explosive, right? And I just think about those Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVays, right? Like these offenses that, people keep hiring from the same tree. So it's probably maybe 10 of the 32 offenses right now. And I think if he finds a way to kind of find a role in that, I think it's the production. Like, I think you'll get similar production out of him that you got out of those flashes from Breece Hall before he got injured. I think he can do the same thing. If you create a runway for him, DP, this is a guy that, listen, he's explosive, right? Like, this is an explosive runner. And I just love the way he finishes runs. Like, he's going to try to, if it's, those sideline action, right, and it's him and the defender, most running backs run out of bounds. He tries to run over the defender just to set a tone, right? So I think he's going to, in one of those offenses, he's going to make a perfect complementary piece, and maybe someone that the Jets should target just in case Breece Hall doesn't come back fully healthy come week 1.
No, that's a good comp there, Keith. And I think, what you said, like, not having the lateral cuts, and being a runway back, like, that's where I kind of like have issues with him because I'm like, all right, if I don't give him a lane, when am I going to get out of him, right? Is he just a guy that's going to get what's blocked? And typically those type of guys where either if you aren't, and even when he does, like, and I agree with you, he runs hard, he runs physical. He's a forward leaner, and I think what's like when I look at like the Tank and even Zach Evans at times and Zach Charbonnet, those are guys that not just when they run and they lower their shoulder, they fall forward. They typically have the balance to keep upright and keep rolling, right? And I think that's why I have some issues when it comes down to Abanikanda, but I do like him. They say he is in my next tier. But Zach Evans, for me, man, I think the main thing is, all right, where is he mentally in terms of maturity and everything? Like, is he like locked in and ready to be a pro NFL running back? But I think talent-wise, Keith, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's explosive. He's got long speed. A guy that has worked the pinning and pulling in the power game, but also handled the zone running schemes as well. He's a little bit of an upright runner, similar to like you think.
I thought about with him, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
he's not a runway type of guy, right?
No,
but he is upright in the sense of the fact that he's going to have to learn how to really not maneuver between the tackles, but protect himself himself.
Yeah, no, 100%. Listen, I can tell you from experience, running like that, and you don't know when that backside backers where he is. Oh no, you'll get right after taking a couple shots. Them kind of blindside hits, you're going to be like, you know what, I need to lower the pads a little bit. But no, I agree. Like, he does run kind of upright. You think about, like, Darren McFadden and some, Eric Dickerson, all these different backs we've seen over the years, in the last couple of decades, man, that kind of had that broad shoulder, upright running style. He has that too. But I do think he has the footwork to be able to exchange and switch gaps and move. So I really like him. Of course, you talked about Kenny McIntosh, one of my guys in this class, man. I think with him, Just I think he is a complete back. There may be some questions about his actual long speed after like some weird testing this draft cycle, but I think you turn the tape, you see a guy that can move and a guy that can separate down the field in the passing game, but also once he breaks contained in the run game as well. And of course, Devin Achane, Keith, like. Talk about fast. Like, I mean, I don't think there's anybody actually faster than him, in this class, Keith.
I have a question. I want to do this, throughout this segment. We threw out the Dallas Cowboys for the last segment with Kenny McIntosh, right? But I want to kind of
Mm-hmm.
throw out some teams and like scheme fits too to kind of, kind of project some of these guys to what systems they were good in. So we could do like a Devin Achane. What do you think he best fits? Like, what is his best complementary spot in kind of for a team?
Man, scheme wise, I think he is a inside zone beast. A beast when you talk, especially with all the shotgun and pistol sets we see in the league nowadays. I think he's one of those guys that can really work between the tackles because he's patient, good contact balance, and he's got great footwork to be able to navigate those tight quarters to find open space. I don't really mind him in zone schemes either, which that, like you talked about, is starting to become more prevalent in the NFL from the Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan coaching trees. I think about teams, man, like I would love to see him in Cincinnati, to be honest with you. I would love to see him in Cincinnati. You know what I mean? Especially with the whole Joe Mixon issue they got going on over there, that he might be he's a cut candidate and everything. And don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted. Like, A-Chain's not a 3-down back where you're going to feed him all the carries. He's more of a complimentary piece, but man, that type of lightning is something that lightning in the bottle that you can't catch twice. That's what Devin Achane is, man. And I think Cincy is a good spot for him. If the Vikings were to cut Dalvin Cook and then Alexander Madison becomes RB1, I think that Devin Achane will be a great RB2 for that offense as well.
Okay, I like that. I like that, man. And we talking about, a couple guys. The guy that fell 10th on my list was Roshan Johnson. I know it's a guy that, Jim Nagy has been talking about a lot. Had at the Senior Bowl, he's been a backup to Bijan Robinson, which is crazy, right? Like, to
Right.
be a backup and still talk about being a top 10 rankings, right? Or,
Mm-hmm.
still be a top 2 to 3 round guy. And I think this is another complimentary back. I don't see explosive speed from the guy, right? I think his athletic ability is capped, and that's okay, right? And this is a guy that was a former quarterback. He's a former quarterback that, was a mobile quarterback / dual threat. Like, it was never 4-4 speed there, right? Like, this is not Lamar Jackson or Cam
Right.
Newton or, one of these special speed guys. So him running a 4.5 to 4.6 is perfectly normal, saying that he was a quarterback. But when you watch him, you see a guy that runs hard. He runs under control, a good pad level, good pad leverage. And I'm trying to think of teams that I think that he'll be serviceable too. I mean, and this is backing up another high profile guy, right? But like going to the Giants and backing up a Saquon
Ooh, I
Barkley
like that.
just to kind of relieve some of that pressure off of him. And he's used to that role, right? Backing up Bijan Robinson. So I think of the New York Giants, I'm like, hey, adding this guy to it, you take a little bit pressure off of Saquon, you keep him fresh throughout the season. Roshan Johnson can, he can take those hits. So I think of like a spot like the New York Giants for Roshan Johnson.
I thought about two, Keith. One was Tampa, behind the Rashad White. I think he could be that power, physical back that also, because he, like you talked about, like, he runs hard, but he catches the ball well out of the backfield and he can pass protect well also. And those type of things, has so much value. I think he'll be a special teams guy as well. A guy that's like willing to do whatever the team needs him to do for them to be successful. I also think about New England. You know how Belichick loves to have a stable of backs, and behind the Ramondre Stevenson, you can play him on third downs because he can catch the ball in the backfield, but he also will make sure that Mac Jones is clean because I think he broke his hand in pass protection at the Senior Bowl, and he finished practice. That was before they got the pads on.
I like the New England or not the New England matchup, in pairing because this is the exact type of back that Bill Belichick goes after, right? Pass protects, he's tough, no ego. He used to being the backup guy. We just have to give him 10 to 20 snaps a game, and he's going to
Right.
be okay. And he's not going to complain, right? Like totally
Special
self.
teams value and all that. Yeah.
So I think that's another good pick. With Roshan Johnson to the New York Giants. I want to go back towards the top part of our list, just with a more polarizing name, talking about Tajay Spears. Do you have any type of team that you would want to see him at?
The Saints, the New Orleans Saints, man, right there in your backyard, Keith. I want to see him down in New Orleans and in that dome, get him on that track, on that turf, and just let him run free, man. Let him loose, because I think he also can catch the ball. One of the most dynamic backs in this class, a guy that's really twitchy and explosive, and just adding more. You got Derek Carr there, right? Michael Thomas is supposed to be healthy and working, and supposed to be there next year. Chris Olave. I keep forgetting the other young man's name who had a good season. Rashid, I can't remember.
Yeah, like Rashid Shaheed, I think.
Yeah, Rashid Shaheed. It always throws me off. His name is the first and last name sounds so much alike. So yeah, Rashid Shaheed, him. You know what I'm saying? And I think Taysom Hill playing that kind of hybrid tight end, do it all type of Swiss Army knife, and with Alvin Kamara, because we expect him to possibly be suspended. So because of that whole assault case or whatever. So if he is suspended, you have a Tajay Spears who can actually help carry some of that load. And then now when AK comes back and he's working them back into football shape, you got two dynamic running backs for Derek Carr that really attack defenses with and really amplify his potential in this offense. I like the Saints. The Vikings for him as well, if they got rid of Dalvin Cook, pairing him with Alexander Madison. And I'm not going to lie, Keith, I think the Raiders would be a good fit for him too. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know they got Josh Jacobs, but that's a franchise tag. He hasn't signed a tag. I think if you're able to get him on late day 2, early day 3, depends on how the running back situation flows in the draft. I think you add another explosive piece. Jimmy G is used to these type of backs anyway. These explosive one-cut runners, from playing in San Fran, guys that he can really, hand the ball off to and throw the ball to in the quick game and make things easy for him. I think that could work for that Josh McDaniels offense.
Yeah, so the team that I thought of while you were talking, I thought of the Commanders for Tajay Spears. Man, they need like an explosive element. B-Rob, reliable. It's I wouldn't even say 3 yards in a cloud of dust, right? He may get you 4.5 yards in a cloud of dust, but he's just a solid back, right? So you need someone to add that explosive element to it. And I think Tajay is that perfect explosive element. So now you're talking about T-Mac and you're talking about Jahan Dotson on the outside. They'll solve the tight end position. B-Rob can be your starter early on, and then you work Tajay Spears in. Sam Howell has all the tools that he needs. So that was one of the teams I thought about for Tajay Spears, man. I just wanted to kind of, come up with guys and, come up with some different matchups for the teams. But DP, look, man, we did tier 1. We did tier 2. We obviously, we don't necessarily agree on all these running back rankings, man. But it's fun just to have a conversation. And, that's what makes this process fun, man. But guess what? We're going to go over the guys that make a difference, right? The difference makers in our coach 'em up segment. So we're going to blend our coach 'em up segment with, the back end of the draft, right? Those guys that can possibly be difference makers in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. And we're going to mix that in with a little bit coach 'em up. So coming up next.
Tier 3, coach 'em up, impact players on day 3 of the NFL draft, Keith. And looking at my rankings here, man, a guy that I think that's very underrated, Keith, is Evan Hull out of Northwestern. Guy that tested great minds, baby. He tested so well, but then you just turn on the tape and you see a dude that can do every little bit of everything, Keith. Run the ball between the tackles, attack the perimeter. He's got the speed in open field, catches the ball out of the backfield, he can pass protect. And it's like this is one of those guys that you think about, right? Like a a contending team. And a team, I'm gonna throw the name. The Buffalo Bills, Keith. A team that you continue to add pieces on your offense, and you say, running back is not going to be a high priority for us during the NFL draft. But on day 3, you say we need to add another body that can do more things for this offense, and Evan Hull can do that.
I like the Buffalo Bills thing, and I would not be surprised because the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion, and this is no slight on James Cook, this is just situation. I think they reached. I had James Cook rated as like a fourth round guy, and they went and grabbed him at the top of the second. I think they reached on him, and that's okay, right? So you pair this guy up with a guy like Evan Hall. I would dare to say that they probably give you the same exact value, man. Because I feel like their speed is probably very similar, right? And they both can catch the ball out of the backfield. But Evan Hall can also run between the tackles because he's just a bigger body, right? Like he's more compact, he's more dense. So I would dare to see that Evan Hall is one of those draft steals. And we had this conversation about Evan Hall, right? We talked about comps. And one of the comps for me is that I really like that we spoke about was Pierre Thomas from the
Mm-hmm.
Saints. Saints running back when they had Pierre Thomas, Reggie Bush, Deuce McAllister. Pierre Thomas was what? He was that screen guy. He was that kind of change of pace, but people didn't know that they were changing the pace, right? Because when Reggie came in, everyone keyed on. They knew that it was some type of wire, some screen. They knew it was a reverse. They knew it was a passing play. They knew it was something crazy. And then Deuce McAllister, they knew that, okay, he was running the football. When Pierre was in the game, everybody was like, we have no idea what they're going to do. And I think Evan Hall gives them that same type of ability, man. So Evan Hall is definitely, I would say, let's deem him as this. He's our coach him up guy, man, for this week.
Mm-hmm.
He's our coach him up guy. Get this guy, you coach him up. But DP, I'm going to talk about the two other names that I had, the back end of this. And we talked about one already, Devon Achane. I had him because I'm going to be honest. He was down my list a little bit because I'm just struggling with his usage, right? Like just how we want to use him. And part of that could be Texas A&M not painting the best picture for him as a running back. But I do respect his patience to say he's a speed guy. That the guy runs with patience, but he's also undersized. So I'm still just trying to, figure that part out with Devon Achane. But the last guy I had, DP, was TCU's Keandre Miller.
Yep.
God has been extremely productive. And I threw this out and everybody said, whoa, 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 whoa. And I'm like, look, I'm just talking about similar running styles. I'm not saying he's this player, but he runs upright and with this like lateral patience, navigating between the holes like Le'Veon Bell did. Like Le'Veon Bell was so patient. And I think Kendra Miller has a very similar running style. I am not calling him Le'Veon Bell. So people listen, don't be at me. No, I'm not calling him Le'Veon Bell, but I do believe that he runs with, like, if you're trying to paint a picture of a running back, is that type of patience.
I like that, Keith. I think when I watched him, one of the comps I thought about, or a player I thought about, he reminded me a little bit of Kareem Hunt because of the kind of upright running style, the power he runs with, and the contact balance. Now, Kareem Hunt is a more dynamic player in space in terms of, like, you could use him as a receiver. You know what I mean? Like, when he was with the Browns, healthy, the Browns would actually sub out Chubb and put Kareem Hunt in and run receiver routes with him. Out and ups, slants, drag. He would do stuff that you don't expect a 225 to 30-pound running back to do as a receiver, Keith. So that made, Kareem Hunt special, and he was a 4th-round pick. But that was one that came to mind. And I think another coach him up type of guy, Keith, I would say is Sean Tucker from Syracuse, man. Just getting, like, this is a guy that has that. He's a 60-meter champ, Keith, for Syracuse. Has that track speed.
Not finished, but I just can't scratch Nyheim Hines out of my head. Every time I watch this guy, I just think Nyheim Hines. But
he's got to learn how to catch the ball to be Nyheim Hines. But I just, like you said, but that's part of the coaching them up thing, is like getting them more comfortable to catch the ball out of the backfield and use him in the passing game, because I think he could be one of those explosive pass catching weapons out of the backfield. But also, he's got to be a disciplined runner. There's too many times I see him vacate the rushing path, the running path that's set for the play, and just bounce stuff outside. And we've seen it with backs that, do that in college. It doesn't translate to the league because the discipline from NFL defenders and defenses, they will bracket you in. If you bounce outside, those linebackers are former running backs and safeties who also run 4-4. So they're going to catch you out there, bro. Like, you got to be able to be more disciplined, and I want to see more patience and vision from him. And I would say this, I feel like he turns down, even though he has a stocky, muscular build, he turns down the opportunity to run physical between the tackles. And that's where that bouncing to the outside comes from. So a guy that you got to just sit him down and say, hey, Sean, I need you. I don't care if it's 3 yards, just get it. If that's what's there, get it. This is not college. You can't bounce it out and try to get 10, man, because you're going to get -3.
Yeah, and so I agree with you everything on Sean Tucker, man. And he didn't make my list just because of the issues that you had, but he'll probably be right behind Kendrick Miller. Wrap up this show, DP. We talked about team and kind of comparisons, man. Evan Hall, we say that's our coach him up guy for this week. Man, I thought about the Los Angeles Chargers if they decide to move on from Austin Eckler. Like, that's a good team situation.
I like that.
I don't know if he's explosive as Austin Eckler, but I really do like the fit and what they asked of Austin Eckler to do. I just wanted to get that out there to the people, man, before we wrap up this show.
I'm pretty sure the family loves it. And then, for Charge fan, you get him day 3. That's great value. Bargain shopping. Don't ever forget that. My wife really put me onto that. So listen, guys, we appreciate all the love and support as always, man. We thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day for the everydayers. Listen, We appreciate y'all, man. Continue to tap in with us every day, Monday through Friday. As always, go subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it's available. Join us again tomorrow. We're getting to more positional rankings, so tap into us. We may have a special guest from Locked On Chiefs tapping in with us as well. In terms of Twitter, for Keith Sanchez, you can find him at The Talent Code. I'm Damian Parson, DP_NFL. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.